Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of VCTV. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. We've got a fun episode for you. As you saw us scrolling across the screen, we're going to be talking about investing in property tech or PropTech. We're going to be talking about real estate tech and construction tech or ConTech as well for you today. What's happening in these worlds as the real estate markets are all over the place around the world, but more importantly, what do you need to know as investors and entrepreneurs to prepare yourselves for the changes in these industries? That's what we've got some great co-hosts who are going to be joining me in just a moment to break down for you as well. And a big thank you to the LATOKEN team and to Maria for making today's episode possible. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. Let's go ahead and introduce my guests today. Peter, welcome back to the show. A little intro and a little background for everybody.
Kyle, it's always glad to be on with you and see the larger VCTV family. Got my close friend Gary here. If it wasn't for VCTV, we would have never connected and we became dear friends. So thanks for setting up that intro. I'm Peter Plout. I am the executive director of Weimer Family Office. We're a multi-billion-dollar multifamily office with investments around the globe with a specific focus that's core to us is real estate. And in real estate, every asset class within that from core and core plus all the ways on up to hotel and hospitality. Even in these trying times of the pandemic, we've been large investors in the space. I'm very excited to be on the panel today with Gary and Kyle because anything having to do with prop tech, green tech, ESG compliance, and how that all relates with AI and technology as it pertains to the real estate space going forward in the post-pandemic world is always exciting for me, particularly for our investment strategies going forward. So thanks again, Kyle.
Wonderful. And welcome back as well, Peter. Always a pleasure. Gary, to you. A little intro, a little background for everybody.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Kyle. So my name's Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur investor. I've done 17 companies, 2 unicorns, original management team at Click Software, sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also eBay.ai, an AI HR tech company that I founded a little bit over 5 years ago. So love artificial intelligence. AI is the new electricity, and data is a fuel, and of course, quantum is a turbocharger. And we're excited about it. It's great to be here and see my good friend Peter and yourself, Kyle, as always. It's great to be on Family Hour.
Absolutely. And speaking of that accelerant, talk to us a little bit, Gary. Kick us off as to where things are between property, real estate, and construction tech, and how artificial intelligence may be playing a big role in the future of these industries and technologies.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, well, just think about it today. How much our world, Kyle, has changed. Look at it. We're not really restricted by boundaries, but at the same time, look how we purchase a home today and taking 6 weeks to go through the cycle. Well, imagine being able to be set up, so we got blockchain-enabled smart contracts, being able to do all the signatures through digital signatures, and then tied into our bank accounts and understand us from a 360-degree standpoint. There's no reason that it should take 6 weeks or longer to be able to go down through and get a loan approved, and 2, do a transaction. So there's a lot of inefficiencies built in the system. So we're going to start to see a lot of those changes taking place in the near term, and at the same time, real estate's really been a lot slower to adapt AI and machine learning to be able to take that incredible amount of data. As I said, imagine, today property searches rely on really simple things like location, display what's for sale in the future. But imagine with AI being able to enable the sites to be able to recommend properties based on preferences, personality traits, values, sentiments, all the kind of things, understanding you from a 360-degree standpoint. At the same time, these sites need to be more aggressive in terms of chat box, being able to have set that can answer, simple consumer questions really quickly to be able to capture the attention of that potential buyer. So imagine being able to allow a real estate agent to show showings via tablet or with a chat bot. that we haven't been able for the most part to do today. So it's pretty exciting times. And, then using VR and AR, being able to imagine home buyers being able to search not only with these panoramic views, but actually to go inside that house. So imagine how that would affect online search and home buying experience, especially now with COVID, and especially with COVID ramping up in a lot of parts of the world. So realtors could do virtual tours of properties. So you wouldn't even have to get out of your house to be able to do that. They can experience, what it's like from the comfort of their own homes or apartments. The other thing is being able to stage a house. Imagine being able to go in and stage a house based on that particular customer's interests. So the kind of furniture that customer likes, and really to put it in the house to see what it would really look like for them. And of course, with architectural images, you're building a house. You understand what that house is going to look like. But now you've got, not only can you look at the house from the outside, but you can actually do these virtual walkthroughs to help buyers understand what that property is going to look like, how it would fit in that particular lot. And I actually did some of that at a construction tech, PropTech company some time ago. And we started in the beginning of it, like we would put grass, on the ground using Photoshop and just the rudimentary beginning of it. But it was amazing how much better that helped to sell the house. Then at the same time, the whole idea of Internet of Things and smart devices, appliances that are connected to the cloud that can help you understand what's happened in that house. Is the roof leaking? Is the heating and air conditioning system? Is the filter dirty? Tell you when you need to clean it exactly right at the point, not whether it's month to month, but exactly when it needs to be cleaned, so you can really optimize the opportunities. So it's really, and I can get into it more, but 5G and drones for, being able to look at real estate, property, so you can get multi-perspective angles on sites, be able to create the whole story around it, both emotionally and storytelling. Imagine being able to fly your drone across the plot and then drill down and show what the walkthrough of that house would be virtually, so they can walk inside the rooms.
Gary, take us down that level. Tell us a little bit more about 5G and drones and how this is playing a role.
Yeah, so the promise of 5G, so what we have is we got a whole lot more bandwidth. Will allow more smart devices and sensors to connect. So imagine within a house. So one example how 5G can do it is through home security, right? It's typically been rather expensive because you've got to wire. I've had to do it, right? So wired alarms inside the house to the windows, the connects. But imagine being able to connect those sensors and cameras completely around a property, not having to have those hardwired, and to make sure, and they're running at very fast speeds, connected very fast speeds. What does it mean? It means that you're able to get high definition images and transmit it instantly, Kyle, instantly. But we need to make sure we can, from a 5G standpoint, that we need to have more 5G base stations than we currently have, and they need to be placed much closer together. So this is for commercial properties. It gives us we're not tethered anymore. It's just we're not tethered, and we're allowed to do a lot more, a lot faster. And that's where it really becomes interesting. And I said with drones, it's kind of funny. They seem like it's a gimmick in the real estate market, but they're here to stay, Kyle. Imagine, as I said, the multi-perspective as a site. So not only do you understand from a ground level, but you can see from the top what something's going to look like, and really where do I want to position it in properly. So it's not expensive. It's not like you're hiring a helicopter to come around and fly around your property. You're really doing it, and it just enriches and creates a really hyper personalized experience for that potential homeowner. And they can be used. Drones can be used to tour an area. If you're going to build a new house, what the houses look like. If you want to look at the backyards of the houses to see if they're cluttered or not. To basically get a feel of what the property's like. And then, as I said, you can go down through and do an analysis. Here's the thing that's really interesting that I've seen recently is actually some tools that are coming out that'll forecast the value of that house in that particular area over a specific period of time. So you know if it's an investable opportunity or it's going to stay at the same price point, or go down. So now we can look at through purely, not only do I want to buy the house because I like the house, but I want to buy the house because it's a great investment opportunity.
Thank you very much, Gary. Peter, I want to come to you next. I mean, talk to us about your view of these industries. Again, property, construction, real estate, your family office, and a lot of what you do focuses on big real estate and opportunity zones. Tell us a little bit more about what you're seeing in these areas and what's getting exciting from an investment and innovation side.
Right. So, Kyle, our minimum size at our family office is 150 million to several billion. Equity or debt, we're agnostic to the capital stack. That doesn't mean one investment has to be 150 million. It just means we need to scale. We have unlimited capital resources, but we have limited human resources. So there's an opportunity cost of everything that we look at. So when going back, I'd echo some of the things that Gary mentions. And one analogy that I like to look at is, why should your Lexus, your car, Mercedes, BMW, or whatever it has more technology in terms of data on you as a person and your family than your house, than a hospital, than a hotel room, than a care home? There's a fundamental problem with that. So the wave of the future is more technology in your home, more technology in the hotels, more technology in hospitality, more technology in the office. The pandemic has accelerated these trends. Let me give you some real life examples. Once the pandemic hit, lots of people were calling up their management companies if they lived in a multifamily condo rental unit and basically saying, oh my God, the HVAC from the apartment next door, that person has COVID. It's going to come through the ventilation system and kill me and my family. What are we going to do? So, I mean, that's a legitimate concern. Well, those companies, those developers that have developed apartments that have basically taken circulated air from the outside and brought it in and then recirculated it back out, okay, are at the forefront. And that just meant spending more money up front for those HVAC systems. Today, when we're looking at office buildings, we're looking at green tech, we're looking at clean tech. We're not going to necessarily invest in a building unless it has the fundamental things that investors, that our 5 families want to see. What does that basically mean? That basically means the air is recirculated every 5 to 15 minutes so that it's almost as clean as being in an operating theater in terms of a medical situation. If you're going into a hotel and if the pandemic has led to technology that we no longer need to see a handsome man or really good looking woman to check us in anymore, and if the room service isn't going to be just from some human being coming to deliver that, it's all going to be on your app on your phone, from check-in to check-out. I mean, I just booking a vacation for my family at Walt Disney World, so I get to see Gary as well while he's in Florida. You know what they said after waiting 2 hours on the phone to make the reservation? You have to make all your plans inside the park on your app. Everything is on the app. Everything's moving forward. And then the app, through AI, will determine what do you want to see, what restaurants that you might want to check in, and it gives you that. I mean, you just know by doing a search on Google that these AI algorithms are showing you what you want. So real estate in the future, clean tech, green tech, prop tech, all these things are coming together, and they're going to come together at an accelerated pace. So that brings up a esoteric question, and an extensionalism type of question is, all this big data that's being accumulated on each and every person, how much do you want to have that done? Most people opt in for that.
So, Peter, with that being said, I mean, looking at the type of investments you make in some of these big commercial projects, where do you see the biggest need right now for a focus on innovation and technology to come into the property sector for you guys?
Well, it's look, we're investing throughout cycles, so this is not necessarily a catalyst, but as I'd mentioned, more AI technology in care homes is going to be critical. More technology in hospitals and office buildings are going to be critical. In terms of office, it's just going to make sure that there's recycled air and stuff like that, because that's what they're going to want. Clean tech and green tech is going to be a fundamental for public companies. If Amazon or any other big company just invests or leases a building, okay, they're going to want to brag about that. It's clean tech, ESG compliant, all this type of stuff in their annual reports for shareholders. Because if the building's not, they're going to want to they're going to want to lease that at a much lower rate and then bring it up to standards, because their investors, their stakeholders are going to demand that. In terms of care homes, we saw the disaster that occurred in care homes across the United States, particularly under the Cuomo administration in New York. So clearly, there's going to have to be monitoring of each and every room in care homes. And then in terms of other things that we're looking at, and again, on the hospitality side, it's going to be very important in terms of more efficient technology, in terms of room check-in, check-out, cleanliness of the rooms, etc.
I agree. Thank you very much, Peter. Gary, a question around early stage. I mean, if you're looking at early stage opportunities right now around real estate and even construction, I mean, what are you seeing as some kind of low-hanging fruit that hasn't been focused on by entrepreneurs or investors right now that might be able to get the jump as well, whether it become, AR, VR, 5G, drones, AI, some of these areas you've mentioned? Anything in particular you're seeing that people should be paying attention to that they might not be in these areas?
Well, I mean, the one thing that I talked about is that, we don't look at houses. We talk about having the houses as an asset, right? But at the same time, we don't do a research in those particular areas and do a real analysis. I mean, it's the biggest purchase you're going to have. At the same time, how many people really look at what the house is going to be worth in 5 or 10 years? We guess what it's going to be worth, but we don't understand. So we need to, one of the things is, why not look at it as an investment and buy it based, so if the house is going to forecast to depreciate, 100% in the next 5 years, and another one's going to forecasted to go up 25%, look at it as really a long-term opportunity to invest. Look at it more from an investment standpoint. That's where AI, and I'm really interested in that, because that's really where AI can come in and help us understand some of the trends and areas where they're going to go up in value. So I'm starting to see a little bit but people talk about it all the time, but they don't have any science for the most part to back it up. So that's interesting for me. Cross-border transactions, companies, the startups that are focused on how to be able to buy because think about it today. How can I buy a property in Mexico from the US? It's not so easy. So imagine having technology set up, smart contracts, blockchain, Bitcoin, to be able to buy those particular properties in that location and make it easier to do. So I like that. That's coming out. And the other thing is smart homes, super smart homes, not smart, super smart. By that, I mean, the homes of the future are going to have appliances, for instance, refrigerators, that'll scan the refrigerator, understand what's in the refrigerator, and actually order what you want right from the store directly. It could look at who has the best price, who has it in stock, and have it shipped, and you wouldn't even know it. Those kind of technologies are coming up. The other thing is, we don't talk about, and I've said this a few times, but growing up in the country, we had well water and a lot of wells out in the country, and some pretty good sized houses too. And what happened is, you would never know until you sold the house whether your water is polluted or not. You could never tell. And there's fracking, there's all kinds of things. So imagine having systems that IoT that would go right on the well. So in real time, to tell you what's happening with that well, to make sure you're not drinking something that's not good for you. So technologies to give us the information and then course correct. Imagine in that case, the well's not right, and it calls somebody that's a well group that actually would bring the particular chemicals or devices like UV out to your house. And I had it happen directly, and it was a real pain. It didn't happen until after I went to sell my house, and they said, oh, this has been here a long time. So just to be able to get it, the roof is leaking. Imagine having the AI set up with the Internet of Things, that the roof would actually respond it's leaking, and to be able to go out to your whoever's the right kind of carpenter roof repair person to come in and fix it. So it's fascinating, Kyle, with what's happening so quickly. And then, as I said, AR and VR. So companies think about it. I mean, what do? You walk through a house. Well, COVID, people could, this isn't rocket science. You couldn't walk through a house, and people wanted to have virtual tours. Wouldn't it be nice to have some kind of device or a person or a drone or a vehicle that would go around and give people virtual tours like they did with Beam? Well, imagine having a beam inside your house that was much smaller to give you an idea of what happened. And as it's going through, develop a picture based on what it has seen, and then put your furniture in the house and show you like a virtual video where you could see what it's going to look like with your furniture in that house, right? How it would fit. Those kind of things. The hyper-personalization of the entire experience is going to be really interesting.
What do you think about 3D printing houses? I've seen that there's more activity now in that space, not just here in the US, but in developing or transitioning regions as well. Have you heard anything about this trend? Are you seeing anything and watching it closely?
Yeah, no, I know a little bit about it because I know I've worked in modular and panel homes. You're just taking it to the next level, right? So it's really interesting. It's fascinating to be able to do it. And in fact, there's some, I believe it was Portland, Oregon, that actually building them for the homeless folks, or some places actually have started to experiment with panelized construction. I mean, as long as you're building it to spec, to what builder's code, the builder's occupancy code, what's the difference? I know the one thing though, Kyle, when I built houses myself that were 14 by 70 foot trailers, 3 foot wide and stacked on top of each other. So 3 in the bottom, 3 in the top. The house size total with the basement area and the garages, etc. Well, garages weren't included in it, but about 7,000 square feet, something like that. And I built the house in 3 months. So what I did is I built it in a factory. It took me 2 weeks to get it built in the factory because I had hundreds of guys working on it. So I wanted 2x6 walls, plywood sheeting, Tyvek. I wanted to make sure I had my alarm system pre-built in, Anderson windows, 9-foot ceilings on the first floor, the whole 9 yards. But I had that house literally up in one day. I bought a crane, rented a crane, and I craned the house on top of my foundation. But these kind of things, why don't we do it? So people said, oh, I don't want a modular house, but this house is now a $900,000 house, right? And the thing is, it's like, think differently. If you want to build it, what's the biggest problem with building a house? On the Northeast US is rain. Rain comes in and destroys the plywood, it warps it and all that, and you never can really fix it. And guess what? The contractors rarely ever put plastic tarps over the plywood, and it warps, and and so why wouldn't you want to do it in a factory to make it better and actually stronger, because it's built up to be able to, it's a trailer, you know what I mean? But it's a trailer with 2x6 walls. So why wouldn't we want to use that? So I see in terms of 3D printed houses, absolutely. Imagine how that could assist in this process. But again, it's not just a house. It's about having to make sure you've got the right kind of holes in the walls to be able to put the electrical up. But guess what? It's coming. It started. It's coming. But, we got to make sure that sometimes people make changes in the design of their house once they see it. So it's a good idea to make sure they are using the AI and rendering the house out so people can look at it to see what they're going to get and how their furniture is going to fit in it, and to make sure the doorways are right, et cetera, because once it's up, it's up.
Right. Gary, thank you so much. I mean, there's so much more we can talk about here, but being conscious of today's time, any closing thoughts around the real estate market and property, and then where can everyone find you online to continue the conversation?
Yeah, no, these are exciting times. I mean, it's about data. It's about the Internet of Things. It's about 5G. It's about 3D printing. These emerging technologies are really coming from all kinds of different perspectives. And for startups out there, look at all these opportunities that you have and just think about what the pain points you've had, and think about how we can make it better. Houses should be investable. So technologies around understanding exactly like a Zillow on steroids, understanding what's happened, being closer to your customer, chatbots. So that's a big opportunity because real estate really hasn't converted. So I would look at those opportunities. Investors, AI, machine learning, VR and AR are really hot. Drones, of course, because it helps you get a picture of the property that you haven't been able to get before. They're all going to be tied together. Great investment opportunities. You can reach me, Gary Fowler, on LinkedIn, or you can reach me on Twitter. I'd love to hear from you. And stay happy, stay healthy, and go get them.
Thank you very much, Gary. To our audience, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you click subscribe, like, and share today's episode, and also check out the archive on LATOKEN.com to hear from Gary, Peter, and all speakers of the VCTV family of investors from around the world. Also, make sure you follow Gary and reach out to him online. I would love to hear from you as well. You can find both of us online, as he mentioned, 24/7, 365, but make sure you add context, where you heard us, where you met us, and what you would like to continue the conversation about. With that, I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. Again, you can find me on Twitter at Kyle Ellicott and on LinkedIn as well. Big thank you to the LATOKEN team and to Maria for making today's episode possible. And we'll be back here tomorrow with more VCTV. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.